Well, hello and good morning to our listeners from around the world. I want to welcome you again to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity, broadcasting live from our studio right here in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Westley Johnson, and of course, I'm so happy that you joined us. We have a great hot topic show that we're going to be doing today, but I've got to introduce my very special friends and my beautiful and wonderful co-hosts, Tami Gaines and Candice Harper. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Woo-hoo. I'm so glad we're back together.
It's Friday.
I know,
And
right?
it's Friday. By the way, Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, that's
Happy
right.
Cinco de Mayo.
Oh
And I
yeah.
know it's
Ah,
and happy belated May the 4th be with you.
Right.
yes. And also with you.
Yeah, this is how we do it, y'all. This is how we do it. So how has your week been? I mean, what's been going on? Tami, I mean, I haven't talked to you since I got back from vacation. And
Yeah, it's
so
been a
what's
minute.
been I know.
It's been a long minute. How's my week? It's been a long week, I'll be honest with you. I
Mhm.
went to Atlanta for business for a couple of days, which was weird on a couple of levels. One, it was my first time meeting like my colleagues in person.
Mm.
Like I've only ever known them over Zoom.
Wow.
Virtually.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was like a little bit weird. A little
Huh.
bit weird. Um, and while we were down there in Atlanta, they had another mass shooting, and we were like 2 miles away from it, maybe a mile.
Yeah,
But I
we're
know
gonna
we're gonna talk about that.
yeah, my
Um,
God. Anyway.
yeah, but like Candy said, I'm happy that it's Friday. I need to breathe and think about all that happened this week. And some of those people were exactly like I thought they were gonna be.
Uh,
Is that a
You
good
can
um,
thing
take
or a
that
bad
anyway. I'm not even gonna comment.
thing?
I'm like, oh, I could have
there
left you on Zoom. I didn't need to see you in person.
Oh.
That's too funny.
That's funny. Well, now, Candy, you post wonderful pictures of Tucker,
Yes.
and he is the master of side eye. My
Right.
goodness.
Well, I was telling my partner Wes's daughter last night, like if you've ever seen the movie Marley and Me,
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's what I'm living right now. Like if this dog didn't have my whole entire heart, because he's the master of side eye, the master of mischief. He's like, I call him my yellow monster. He wreaks havoc all the time, but I love him. He's a rescue. So I just,
Yeah.
he has my entire heart.
You know,
Oh.
Candy, it's so funny. Yesterday, I was like, why am I so relaxed? Like
Mhm.
yesterday morning,
Uh-huh.
because my dog was at the doggy place. I didn't have to worry about like what time is it? I gotta go take her out. I gotta figure out the walk
Right?
and get back in time for this meeting. Like she was gone, and I was very happy.
Yeah. And like what happened to, pets are supposed to be emotional support. I'm like, I'm emotionally supporting him.
I know, right?
Yeah, me
Like
too.
when
Me
you're
too.
glad they're gone, like with your
It's a
kid, it's
problem.
like you're the one who's doing the supporting.
It's a problem.
You're like exhausted.
She was super cute when I picked her up. She was so happy. Like she came charging at me,
Did
and she
she?
weighs like
Oh
90
man.
pounds. I'm like, oh my god. I'm
This is
bracing myself. I
hilarious.
was holding onto the wall.
Does she
Oh man.
behave better when she's with other people?
Oh, she's super smart.
Is
She's
she?
really smart.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, she's well behaved. She's also getting older. She just turned 10 this year.
Oh,
So,
Oh.
yeah.
oh my god, we're past that crazy puppy phase. Thank God.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So she's pretty chill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
she's
calm
pretty
down.
chill. Yeah.
They
I can't wait for
absolutely
that
calm down.
time.
Oh my god, I love it.
Well, listen, why don't we go ahead and get into our hot topics? But before we do, I just want to remind everybody, both on East Coast and West Coast, listen, if you have questions, comments, or thoughts, just post them right to our live chat. If you have ideas for our show, just send us an email to soulivity@soulivity.com and we will respond. Ladies, wow. As we were just talking about before, our first hot topic is relates to in Atlanta. There was a mass shooting, and Tami, you were actually there
Yeah.
during this time, and so we have a story that comes from CNN where an 8-hour manhunt that threw a major American city into fear and chaos ended when barking dogs at a suburban condo complex led to the arrest of a U.S. Coast Guard veteran suspected of fatally shooting a woman and wounding 4 others in a medical waiting room in the bustling heart of Atlanta, authorities said. The suspect, Dion Dwayne Patterson, who's age 24, was armed when he was arrested Wednesday evening, Cobb County Police Chief Stuart Van Hooser said on Thursday. Wow.
Mm.
What's Tami,
Yeah,
I'll
that
go to
was
you
weird.
first
I
because
gotta
you
tell
were
you,
there.
it
You
was.
were actually there.
I gotta say, it's one thing. Look, we've been going through this right for years, the mass shooting thing.
Yeah.
It's one thing when you're watching TV and you see it all going down on TV. It's really different when you're like a mile or 2 away from where it's happening. Like not my phone because I'm from Jersey, but all the Atlanta people, their
Mhm.
phones started buzzing immediately. They put everything on lockdown. Like we were on lock in the office.
Wow.
And they didn't apprehend that guy until later that night. So I was like,
Mhm.
I just want to go back home. Like I
Yeah.
just want to
Right.
get out of here.
Right.
Um, it's just sad. My colleague who was there, her 2 kids are in high school, which was like across the street basically from where it happened. So they were on
Okay.
lockdown. She couldn't get to them. It was just like very in your face. It's very different than like watching it on TV.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. I mean, it's kind of like well, January 6th, right?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Where, people around the country are like, wow, that was really terrible. And it's like, no, you don't understand. People here in the DMV, we were literally traumatized. Like, we didn't know what the heck was
Mm,
going to happen. Where is it going to be and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So,
hmm
man, when you told me that you were there, I was like, what?
Look, you and me both. I was like, I came to Atlanta. I had to come to Atlanta to be like in proximity to a mass shooting. That's as close as I need to be. But Brian and Candy, I think I was talking to someone on the plane coming home. Everybody was like, "Get us the hell out of here."
Right. Right.
People were like, "Just please put us back home." But we were saying, isn't it so crazy that we live in a society where we wake up, it feels like every day or every week,
Yeah.
to yet another mass shooting? Like, has the fabric of all that we stand for completely fallen apart?
What are you thinking, Candy?
Well, I mean, I always have to, I think like there, but for the grace, like
Mm-hmm.
the fact that
Yeah,
we're in
Lord.
this state of life where like anywhere you could possibly be. And I almost feel like even though this was a separate issue, 9/11 was what I think woke a lot of us up to that that the United States is not this vanilla safe place where nothing bad happens to the masses, right?
Mhm.
I feel like that's when I first got my awareness around that. But to have us living in a state where you could be anywhere at any time and someone could do something like this, it just speaks such volumes about how we don't care about the things we claim to care about.
Right. Right. That's exactly what I
Right.
meant by like, is the fabric like this country was built on a certain set of
Right?
values.
Right.
Where are they?
Exactly.
And
Exactly. And we're constantly in the political arguments and it was funny because I was saying to Brian and Sheila on Tuesday, like I've been watching The Handmaid's Tale finally. And every time
Oh, that's so good.
what's that?
That's so good. It's such a great
I
It's
show.
such a
know.
great show. Margaret Atwood wrote it in the mid 80s. And the fact that she so much had her finger on the pulse of like, because even though that's not where we're at, there's a
Right.
lot of people in power where that's the direction we'd be going in. And with all of this lack of gun control, this lack of wanting to take care of people around mental illness and, just not caring what happens to people, it's like a harbinger of, we really have to be awake around this.
And it's completely empathetic to how things actually are, right? We are all in a society where we depend on each other. Even if we think we don't, we actually do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so
That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I mean, it's bizarre.
I don't think we feel that way though, Brian, anymore.
No, well,
Like we're not a connected society anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, look at, why did you go to Atlanta? You went to Atlanta and you met people that you haven't really met before, right? Through,
Uh-huh.
and so things like, I was so like, things like it brought warm feelings to my heart to see young children in my neighborhood actually playing. I mean, because before that, I've seen other friends of mine and their kids, they are in their like phones or a game or whatever. And they'll say things like, oh, well, I'm playing with my friend such and such, I'm like, well, is he living in the neighborhood? Oh, no, he's like in England.
Yeah.
Right. And it's cool. So there's a gap that technology and other things bring that bridges the gap, but it's not the same as this human interaction where you actually start to care about people where you live, right? Which can also foster caring for people where you don't live.
And community building,
yeah. It was, I don't know. I think a lot of this stuff has been normalized. I think that, when, what is it, 80 or 90% of the American public are all about like trying to take action to quell the number of mass shootings through gun legislation and other things. And yet our political system does not reflect that.
Yeah. I think so I'm a fan of the Second Amendment.
Of course.
I don't have a gun yet, but I think I'm going to soon. I went to the firing range for the first time last January. And Brian, I think you're right. We can't even sit across the table from each other and be like, listen, we're not trying to like take your guns.
Right.
We're just trying. There's 192 mass shootings,
Absolutely.
according to that article.
Absolutely.
We're not trying to take your guns or take your rights away, but can we at least get to the table to talk about like some reasonable resolution?
Yeah. And
I mean,
again,
there's definitely a force at work that doesn't care if we kill ourselves.
No.
You know what I mean?
I totally, yeah. I think that's it.
Terrible.
But I think that's right. I mean, just like disconnects within organizations that support people protecting themselves, right? With reasonable, logical, and practical steps to control having arms within your home, right? Most of the people who are part of the NRA support gun control.
Right.
But the NRA organization is 180 degrees from them. And so you got to wonder like, okay, what's really going on? But I think people, the only way this is going to change is if people stand up and hold their leadership accountable, even in the NRA. Like if all the members don't want what the leadership wants, then why are they still leaders?
Yeah.
Listen, fundamentally, I think the only way this is going to change is when people change.
Yeah. Agreed.
I don't think it's about, you both know I'm a big fan of like getting involved in, in politics, but this one, it sort of made me think like the only way to change this is for people to change.
Yeah.
To start caring. Like, by the way, why did that guy have a gun in the doctor's office?
Yeah, what the heck is
like what? Like he just happened to have a gun on him,
right? And
in the doctor's office.
I don't know what this was a major medical facility. There are armed people in there. So how did he get past security?
How did he get
and all that kind of stuff? So that's a whole other thing.
That's the whole thing. And then also the whole system for veterans as well, because he was there because the VA hospital is so crappy. And why isn't that more well funded? I mean, me and my sister, we handle things for my father who's a veteran. And when I tell you it's worse, it's like the DMV, the IRS, and every bad government office combined.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with anything around it. And then you have people who have PTSD and all kinds of issues and this is not to excuse what he did,
of course,
but it comes back around to that, just not caring. Like, just not enough care about what's happening with the masses, what's happening with these soldiers that come back, what's happening with these people who can so easily get dangerous weapons. Like,
Yeah.
that's where we have to really put.
The VA thing needs a complete
Oh my
overhaul.
gosh.
Yeah.
I have a friend that he was in charge of northern New Jersey's VA hospitals,
Mhm.
and I went to go meet him because I was thinking about doing a partnership with the VA, and I was like, Candy, exactly what you said. It was the
Crazy.
worst
Yeah.
of the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People sitting around not getting care, people leaving because they're not getting care.
And it's
Right?
been that way for a long time. And I know certain things are like improving. But as a whole, it's kind of like, I mean, this is serving our nation's treasure, right? I mean,
Yeah.
people who
Our
are
heroes.
our heroes, our veterans.
Yeah, why do they have such terrible care? Why don't they overhaul these facilities so
Yeah.
they're modernized and
They're so
get great doctors in there? It feels like it's from like the 40s.
they're so underfunded. It is like that.
Yeah.
They're very underfunded. Like,
Yeah.
if yeah.
That's
It's like
that's
the
a
conversation we had about the teachers, right?
right.
Like we all agreed that teachers should be the highest paid people.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
We should be taking care of our veterans
absolutely.
better than we take care of anybody else.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, why don't we move on to our next hot topic? And that was that's another great discussion about like how do we care for people who we treasure the most. There's a story that comes out of variety.com, and this is a fun one where Willie Nelson just got an only slightly late 90th birthday present, an impending induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The country music legend was one of 7 music figures announced Wednesday morning as having been voted into the hall, along with Kate Bush, Rage Against the Machine, Missy Elliott, whoop whoop, Sheryl Crow, George Michael, and the Spinners. Oh man, the Spinners, love me some Spinners. There are 6 more inductees beyond that list, with the distinction of being selected by a select Hall of Fame committee to join the 7 performers who were voted in via general balloting. These are singers Chaka Khan, instrumentalist
Chaka Khan.
producer Al Cooper, lyricist Bernie Taupin. Oh my God, Bernie Taupin should have been in there a long time ago.
Yeah.
Pioneering rock guitarist Link Ray, hip hop originator DJ Kool Herc, yeah, and Soul Train TV host Don Cornelius as the recipient of the annual Ahmad Edgewan Award. Wow, pretty cool, right?
It's a really interesting. It's an interesting group of people, right?
Yeah.
So think about this span. So part of me is like, should the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame change their name?
Well, right, exactly, because you got all these. I mean, again,
these are iconic people. Willie Nelson, he's just getting inducted.
right? I'm just.
What are you doing? What happened? Oh my God, that guy's amazing.
I mean, just the variety of the main people through the general battling. I mean, the Spinners with George Michael, with Sheryl Crow, with Missy Elliott,
right.
Kate Bush, and Willie Nelson.
Now,
so what do you think about that? Why is it so diverse? Or is that because it hasn't been like this right over the last many years?
Been mainly
somehow
like certain,
like Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith,
the rock and rollers,
exactly.
The hardcore rock and rollers.
Exactly.
Do you all think this is intentional?
Well,
to diversify like this?
I think it's been going that way. I mean, Earth, Wind, and Fire was inducted a few years ago.
Were they?
Yeah,
I think they were.
I don't know. Like the Spinners.
Yeah, I mean,
are amazing, but whoa, what an outlier!
Rubber Man starts to jam.
They're inducted. Bernie Taupin is Elton John in it?
I believe Elton John is definitely, definitely in there. I think he's definitely.
Okay.
But Bernie was like his writing partner. I mean, so yeah. Now some of these people I think came in late. But I think Tami, I think the Rock, I think as this is just the sign of that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, in terms of who's they are as an organization, excuse me, just decided that, listen, we're going to make it more diverse, and not just more diverse in terms of genre of music, but more diverse just period. If you're writing good songs, and you've had like hit after hit after hit after hit, or you've been very influential in the music industry as a whole, then then you should be put up there.
Yeah.
There was other people that didn't make it in, by the way. One of them was like Cyndi Lauper was nominated but didn't make it in, and there's a couple other people.
And rock and roll does have its roots. It has its roots in blues and all these
things.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. It's about time they recognize that.
Yeah.
But if you hear interviews with rock and rollers, they all talk about like blues and jazz, R&B.
Yeah.
Being influenced.
I thought one thing that was pretty cool is that Missy Elliott, this was the first year that she was eligible, and she got in on her first shot. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And very deserving. She's amazing.
Yeah.
They're all pretty
amazing. I'm not disappointed with any one of these picks. Really.
No, I guess my thing, when I saw it, I was just like, oh, so they should either change their name.
Widen out the
right.
Clean it up a little bit. Let's do something more broad.
Now, I do have one little nitpick. If you're gonna have Shaka Khan get in there, then where's Rufus? You got to have Rufus in there. I mean, like half her career was spent with that band, right? And so,
and they are an amazing band.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh my God, I listen to every day. I listen to Rufus and Shaka every day.
I mean, that it was like you couldn't say Shaka Khan without Rufus, and you couldn't say Rufus without Shaka Khan.
You know what's disappointing about? So Cyndi Lauper was nominated but didn't get.
Right.
She was a trailblazer in her own right.
Yes, she was.
Fantastic talent.
Yes, she was. Yes.
And she's been around forever. Like I was in high school, I think, when she started, like when she came on the scene.
Right.
So that's like 30-something years ago.
Me too. Yeah.
But not getting inducted, does that mean she has no other chances to get nominated?
No, she can be nominated later. I mean, they can you can always renominate people. I think the way that it works is that there's two balloting systems. There's the general ballot, and then there's a committee that comes together and selects. And so they look at I think they look at all the nominees. And please, if someone knows more than I do, please put into the chat or email us. But they go through all the nominees, and then the highest 6 or 7, I think it's the 7, they automatically get inducted. And then who's ever left, the committee comes together, and then they go through those and they say, okay, yeah, these are the people who we're going to pick.
All right, let me ask you a question.
So she's laughing.
I am laughing at myself. Do you feel like this is a participation award at this point because they gave it to so many people across so many genres? Is this like when little kids get an award for showing up? Congratulations. We know you lost, but here's an award.
That's a really good question. I think that there are at least certain the people, that the nominees have to meet certain criteria. Like you have to be in the industry for this amount of time, and there might be other things that are involved. And so if a person even gets nominated, if they don't meet the criteria, they don't make it, right? They immediately get kind of disconnected. But for the most part, over the years, though, people might be disappointed that 1 or 2 of their inductees haven't made it. I mean, nominees may have not been inducted. For the most part, they've been okay. I mean, they've been pretty much Everybody's like, okay, good. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with those people.
We were gone during our break from each other. Harry Belafonte died. Speaking of music.
We talked a little bit about him on Monday.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's in the Hall of Fame.
That's a good question.
I'm gonna do
because that's a good question. In fact, why don't we take a quick break? We've been going for about about half an hour now, and we've got some more great hot topics coming up, and then we'll find out whether or not Harry Belafonte was in the Hall of Fame as well, because he's one of my heroes.
Yeah,
So we'll
he's
be right
amazing.
back in about 30 seconds.
Okay.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. My name is Brian Westley Johnson, and I am joined today by my beautiful co-host Candice Harper and Tami Gaines. And Tami, you have some good news about Harry Belafonte and the Hall of Fame.
It's good news, but it's a bit disturbing. So yeah, he was inducted literally this past November.
Oh, wow.
Like, what did they wait so long for? That is that is what I was trying to get to.
That might be a little political there. You know, like, because he was up in age, he wasn't doing as well as he had been doing, like, even a few years ago. So they might have been like, "Oh, we need to do this while he's still alive." I'm glad he's there, though.
I'm glad he's there. Why did we wait so long to, like, you know?
Yeah, give them their flowers while they're here.
Exactly.
Earlier than later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
but yeah,
man.
they snuck him in just before he passed.
Dale.
So he was when I graduated from Columbia Business School, he was our commencement speaker.
Oh, wow.
And it was incredible. It was, I was sort of like, this is an interesting pick. But then I remembered that he's from Harlem, and Columbia's up in Harlem. But the funny thing was, he got to like the middle of his speech, and we all just started singing Deo. And he just went with it. I mean, literally thousands of people at this commencement. We all just were like, Deo, and then he just started singing. It was awesome.
Fantastic.
Oh my God, it was better than the speech.
That power. All right. Let's move on to our next hot topic, and this comes from the Washington Post, and I will call this segment "Well, damn." You'll understand why. Conservative judicial activist Leonard Leo arranged for the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas to be paid tens of thousands of dollars for consulting work just over a decade ago, specifying that her name be left off billing paperwork, according to the documents reviewed by the Washington Post. In January 2012, Leo instructed the GOP pollster Kellyanne Conway to bill a nonprofit group he advises and use that money to pay Virginia Jenny Thomas, the documents show. The same year, the nonprofit, the Judicial Education Project, filed a brief to the Supreme Court in a landmark voting rights case. In all, according to the documents, the polling companies paid Thomas's firm, Liberty Consulting, $80,000 between June of 2011 and June of 2012. That's a year, guys. And it expected to pay $20,000 more by the end of 2012. So it's $100,000. The documents reviewed by the Post do not indicate the precise nature of any work Thomas did for the Judicial Education Project or the polling company. So I will go to both of you. What say you in regards to this?
Listen, where do we start?
That's why I said, well, damn. That's why.
Where do we start? This guy has been problematic since he sexually assaulted our girl, and still somehow landed Anita.
Yeah.
Anita Hill, and somehow he still landed on the Supreme Court. What?
Yeah. Problematic.
The Supreme Court is a joke, if you ask me. What are they supreme? Like, why are they supreme?
I just to give people, and not the Supremes. We were talking about
not the Supremes.
Just to give people, again, when we do our show, we are bringing like current events into the light so that we can talk about it in a way where we're real with each other about what our feelings are, and we talk about, okay, what's the kind of world we want to be in, right? And so just the fact that we have a news story about the wife of a justice that's on the highest court of the land is taking money from a judicial activist, don't you think that that is problematic at the very least?
Yeah, but Brian, remember, it's not just about her taking these payments. They were on vacation around the world. Like,
that's a whole,
just the whole the optics.
And
They've been hanging out with this guy forever.
And every court has ethics rules. No other federal judges, state judges, all these judicial people, they could not do any of this. If they did any of this, they would be impeached and out. Or they would be put in jail because some of this stuff would be actually criminally illegal.
So I have a question, because this is the first time that I know of this guy. I hate to admit, but I don't follow politics closely enough to know enough.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah. But judicial activist, under that title, judicial activist, what am I? Who am I? What am I doing?
I'm a lobbyist.
They're lobbyists.
I'm lobbying.
Okay.
You're lobbying.
You're lobbying for your position.
So most likely he has a political position that he knows that Ginny Thomas would support, Clarence Thomas would support, right?
Right.
Well,
exactly.
And just to give people backstory, one of the primary goals that Leonard Leo had, amongst many, but one of the primary was to weaken the Voting Rights Act. Right. And specifically in where was it Title V, which is pre-clearance in the southern states, which basically got struck down by the Supreme Court, right, in recent history, right? So what's the connection between the payments that were being made, or if there was a connection between the payments being made during this time to a Supreme Court justice's wife and that Supreme Court justice's decision around that specific, ruling? Because I believe, if I'm correct, the justices, this was during Obama's first term, and it was during the first term that the Supreme Court struck down preclearance.
The Supreme Court, its time may have come and gone. And I will be very controversial right now. If you look at and I'm a little jaded because of Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
But if you look at the makeup of the Supreme Court and what most of those people have done, they're not supreme. That's what I said before. To me, if you're going to be on the Supreme Court, wouldn't it be like being in Rome? Like you're better than everybody. Like you're more ethical. You're more virtuous. We all saw Gladiator. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Shouldn't that be them? And it's exactly the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Right.
They're supposed to be the wise elders of society, right?
Exactly.
Correct.
The whole point of having three branches is checks and balances.
Checks
so you got to have, to have
Except
people
they're corrupt. Yeah. There's no bumpers on the Supreme Court. So, Brian, that whole thing with the ethics.
Yeah.
There's no ethics committee for the Supreme Court.
Well, and now you're getting to where there's being more pressure, and what's going to be probably one of the major things that's coming up in the next election, which is Congress has a role where they can actually put a law in place that creates the ethics, like they redo the ethics for Supreme Court justices, because there is ethics, but they're just so weak that things like this don't get either reported or penalized.
Well, this stuff happens all the time. And one thing that I think is really interesting, by the way, I'm not surprised that she was taking payments.
Of course not.
That family have issues.
Right.
Clarence Thomas and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a dream. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
I have a dream that one day Clarence Thomas will step down from the Supreme Court
Yes.
and
Preach.
President Biden will get another shot at a
Yeah.
nominee.
Amen.
But
And hallelujah.
Wave your white
Amen and
hankies if you got them.
hallelujah.
Wave your white hankies if you got them.
I'm doing it right now.
Ooh, I'm sweating on that one. That was funny.
That was funny. But wouldn't that be amazing if Clarence Thomas had enough of a value system? Like, this is not Brian. You read one story.
talking
There
about
are
miracles.
multiple
There's
stories.
I
This guy, it's unraveling, but
Yeah,
he will
this is-
never
yeah.
step down because
Yeah.
I just feel like it's arrogance.
Oh yeah.
It's just arrogance.
Well, there was the news report that right after he made it through the confirmation process, that he said to aides, his new aides that he had picked for being Supreme, for the Supreme Court position, that he was going to make the Democratic Party specifically, but other people who were against his confirmation, he was going to make them pay for 40 years. So I'm saying this to give you a glimpse into what this man, what his value system is, and to get people, regardless of your political affiliation, number one, do we want to have Supreme Court justices held accountable in the same way that other justices are around the country, judges and other folks that are part of our judicial system? That's one. And then two, what are the values that we want in our Supreme Court justices, period? Because I cannot see a Ruth Bader Ginsburg doing this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, me neither. Or
I can't see. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Or Thurgood Marshall. I can't see Thurgood Marshall doing something like
No
this.
way.
Yeah.
That's what
But
I'm
also,
saying.
I feel like, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
Go ahead, Candy.
No, I was just going to say political leanings have just gotten so skewed. And I think that part of it is that this is a branch of the government that just shouldn't, it's like with the military, political leanings are not allowed. Like,
Right.
my brother-in-law's the commander. He's a 4-star general. He's in charge of all of TRADOC. And he can have no political leaning one way or the other, at least not publicly, and definitely not, how he maneuvers through his work, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
So
Right.
shouldn't that be the case with any judge on any
Right.
level, that your political views or your political agenda is just not allowed in the space?
Right.
Yeah, I feel like there's no bumpers.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no bumpers. We're built on checks and balances.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
part of our system. Listen, between Brett Kavanaugh and
Ugh.
Amy
Barrett,
Comey Barrett and Clarence Thomas, like half of our Supreme Court is suspect.
Yeah, they have an agenda.
They have an agenda, and nobody's able to, like, who do they report to?
Yeah.
They don't.
Nobody.
And and that's the whole point, because the executive branch is checked by Congress, right? And then if people in Congress do something, the executive branch can have a check on them. But
yeah, Congress is not going
exactly.
to do anything about
But the
that.
executive branch and Congress and the legislature, they're supposed to be checking Supreme Court in some type of way, right? But that's not there.
Yeah.
And so again, does that feel right at an energetic level for everybody who's listening? For me, it's hell no.
Yeah. It's
Because
it's like a preschool runs our
absolutely.
everybody with all of their
Like,
Exactly. They are running. Wait, is it the inmates are running the asylum? Is that what's
Exactly.
going on?
Exactly.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think the most unfortunate piece, there's two pieces for me that like really resonate with this. Number one, if Clarence Thomas was a real man with any values
Mm.
and any real commitment to making this country better,
Tell
he
us how
would
you really feel,
step
Tami.
down.
Yeah.
He should
True.
step down.
Yeah.
He's the worst role model we could possibly have on the
Well,
Supreme Court.
and just to, I agree with you, and I will say this: he took an oath when he became a justice that his decisions were going to be impartial based upon facts and evidence, right?
Mhm.
And part of that being impartial means that you have to be looked at as someone who's at least partially beyond reproach.
Right.
And so how do you continue
Right.
to do your job as a justice if people are seeing these stories like this? And I don't care, and I don't care if you believe that they're right or wrong or whatever. There is factual information that is here that you can read, and you can say there's no dispute that Jenny Thomas was getting this money, for instance.
Yeah.
And there's no dispute that his relative was that their boarding school was being paid for by another billionaire. There's
and his mom's house, Brian.
And his mom's house, and the fabulous trips and all these things. There's no dispute. That's factual evidence.
So that was my my point. I was saying like that what bothers me so much, like you both know my political leanings.
Yeah.
This is not political.
No.
This is the way I was raised.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is what Martin Luther King talked about, right?
Right.
This is what great leaders do.
Right.
It's all about your character.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how you show up in the world. That is my problem. Like this guy sits on the highest court in our country
With no integrity.
Right, exactly.
No
he don't give up. He does not give a. He doesn't.
But guess
if
what? Nobody's gonna rein him in.
Right.
He's just gonna be. He's gonna sit there until he dies.
Wow.
That's what's disturbing to me. We have no way to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Well, to make a hard turn,
Oh, man.
do something on a more lighter. Have you guys ever been to Singapore?
No. I'd love to go though.
Well, our next hot topic comes from the Good News Network, and that in case you're planning a trip to the other side of the world, the world's richest city-state, the biphilic Capita Spring Tower in Singapore is now fully bursting with a publicly accessible urban forest. In Singapore's business district, you have to go up 17 to 20 stories above street level to find wide open greenery. On Capita Springs' green oasis floor, accessible to the public, a spiral path winds through gardens and small replicants of tropical forests like the kind that stood there before Singapore became to be. On the roof, 3 rooftop market gardens supply fruits, vegetables, herbs, and flowers to 3 on-site restaurants, and trees grow in nooks in the building's facade as often as windows. And there's 80,000 plants. How cool is that?
I thought you were going to tell us that you were taking us to Singapore.
Yeah, me too, Andy. I was like, oh my God, let me get my calendar open.
Well, thank you for joining us on another edition of This Morning. We'll be live from Singapore on Monday.
Yeah, I was like, where is he going with this? But I have like maybe a like super stupid question. Why can't they do all that on the ground? Why do they have to do that up in the air like that? That doesn't make any sense. And I'm a gardener. I'm just trying to level set.
From my friends who actually have been there, there's a lot of green space in Singapore, but they're just maximizing it throughout, like making buildings really, really green that sit there, because there's a whole lot of buildings, especially like in the business district. And so, they're just taking the lead on a lot of this stuff where they're incorporating, like, if we're going to build this skyscraper, it's not going to be all metal and concrete. We've got to make sure that we're balancing that with green initiatives. And so that's what this is about.
Well, how about don't make your people work so hard so they can go home and actually enjoy real greenery?
Yeah, well, that's
Like, I'm
true.
not trying to have a garden in the office. I'm just trying to do my job and get my check and go home. I'm baffled. Oh, that's funny. Hey,
Chanel says that's what she
Chanel.
thought too.
Chanel said that's what I thought too. I'm just super confused. Like, I don't need you to put a garden. I need you to let me out 2 hours early.
Oh, that's funny. And Chanel says, that's what I thought too. That's funny. Chanel.
Very well, it's a whole I gotta say, let me ask you guys this, talking
Mm.
about this. Why are you making it so comfortable for us at work?
Well, you know why.
I mean, I know why, but I
You
don't want you
know
to.
why.
Like, can we just stick to the plan? I go to work, I do my job, I get paid, and I go home and enjoy my life, which includes a garden
Right.
and going to the park and all this stuff. Like,
Listen,
why are you making it so comfortable for me at work?
listen. This is the
Look, Brian thought this was like cool, and now I'm like,
oh no, I think it's cool. I think it's cool, but you're right. I mean, there's other considerations, and that's another like way to look at it, where it's like, okay, well, if there's these all, they got the restaurants there, you got the market where you can shop for like fruits and vegetables and all this kind of stuff. Well, but you're still basically at work.
yeah, I went out. My
And so-
brother. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. And so you work longer. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
you're at work and you work longer.
Work longer. My brother's in Silicon Valley, and I went out to visit a couple of years ago. Well, obviously it was pre-pandemic, but I went to the Google campus where they had childcare, laundry, dry cleaning, a grocery store, like literally a Whole Foods. How come nobody's concerned? Like, I just want to earn a living. I don't want to have my whole life like right here on this camp. You literally never had to leave the campus to do your life.
Yeah.
Like, you could do everything right there. They even had like I forgot what they called them, like sleeping rooms. If you had to work late, you didn't feel like driving home.
Wow.
To me, that's extraordinarily. This whole concept of like making work more comfortable, so you could just work more,
like live there and just
live there and do your life there, and you could bring your pets to work. I don't know.
I was talking to a friend of mine about there's a company in Detroit. I won't mention the company because then people will know who I'm talking about. But
there's only like 5.
Hey.
I'm kidding.
Watch it.
I'm kidding. My brother's out there right now. They went to the game
and basically doing the same types of things, right? Where they have all these initiatives and they have all these different things, but their salaries don't go up. So I think this is a little bit of like, bait and switch, right? Where you make work really comfortable. You do all these cool things, some of which I think are necessary. But it skews you away from the two important points. One you just made, Tami, and that is, I don't need my home life to be at work, right? Or my personal life, quote unquote, to be at work. 2, what are you paying me, right? So a lot of times the salaries that they're paying are not at market value. They're like below or right at where it should be instead of more. So they're paying more for those things where overall they're static and they don't have to like have outlays every single month for that stuff. Right?
Well, they sell you on the benefits, right?
And again, and so it becomes more of your compensation package is more about the benefits instead of your actual compensation.
Right. But you didn't ask us. You should have asked us. Do we want to bring our dry cleaning to work?
Now that I might not, that
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
wouldn't mind that. Drop it off on
autonomy. It takes away your autonomy when they, I had a job just on a small scale. I had a matchmaking job where instead of giving a Christmas bonus, they give you because it's supposed to be a luxury. They give you a luxury gift. And what it does is it takes away, right?
Okay, what was the gift? Wait, Candy, what was the gift?
Well, they were like, well, what's a luxury place that you like? And I just threw out there Tiffany's because I'm not that, like, I like nice things, but I'm not a crazy luxury person. So I was like, Tiffany's. And they got me the classic Tiffany tag pendant necklace, the
Oh,
silver chain one, which is,
really?
everybody knows it and it's nice enough. Like I would give it to maybe a 16-year-old who was having her sweet 16 or something like that. And the amount of it, I think it retails at like maybe 800 online.
Thank you. I'll take the cash.
I'll take the
I'll
cash.
take the cash.
Right.
I
Right.
need you to buy me presents.
Cash
The
money,
bonus
y'all.
that I would have gotten would have been higher than that. So, how often are they putting in these amenities and giving these gifts that are actually less than what you would have been compensated and made your own decisions around how you wanted to enjoy it, right?
Right.
So it's an
Right.
autonomy thing. It's like, come
It
be
is.
comfortable and let us control you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly, Candy, because I feel like maybe you should ask us what we want.
Exactly.
Like, we just want the
Exactly.
cash.
Yeah.
We don't need all of these. Like, I think the garden is beautiful. Like, I'm a huge gardener. We do container gardening.
Yeah.
My daughter's in a cactus phase. She has like literally 20 cactuses.
Does
Cacti.
she?
But she grew them all from succulents. Like, she literally, like, we go to Home Depot and she picks up a leaf, which is legal. And then she comes home and she plants it and it becomes a cactus.
Oh, I love that.
I don't want my job involved in that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Like let me develop my own lifestyle.
Right.
Hey, y'all. We got like a couple of minutes here before we got to go.
No.
I know, and it's
that
like
was fast.
wah, 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 wah. So really quickly, well, first of all, thank you both for being here again. We'll be here again on Friday. Candy, can you talk a little bit about your It's Homeostasis really quick?
Yeah, so my project is Homeostasis. It's a compilation book, and it's the stories of BIPOC plus women of color around our relationship with home. And I'm putting together a bunch of different, varying stories. The idea is that when we share our stories, our experiences, that we not only heal ourselves, we heal others. So I'm asking for people's contributions, their submissions. If you have a story that you want to tell around home, it can be a low vibrational or a high vibrational story, just something that means something to you. So if you go to bit.ly/it's homeostasis, any proceeds from this project are going to organizations that support BIPOC and LGBTQIA youth in having shelter and learning life skills and all that good stuff, and the people who contribute to the project. So if your submission gets accepted and you get published and we make some profit from it, you will get compensated for it.
Sweet.
So, right, bit.ly/it's
I love that
homeostasis.
project. I just love it. I think that's
I
so
know,
great.
me too. And Tami, you've got another great show coming up for
Tami's
table.
Super excited. I just confirmed with my girl Candy.
Oh,
she's coming on Wednesday.
Whoa, watch out. Hold on.
List. She's been on my list. So yeah, Tami's Table, we talk about building resilience in all areas of your life. And I think there's like 7 core areas that make up most of our lives. So I'm excited. Candy just confirmed that she can come on because I think an area that we don't really talk about is building resilience in relationships.
Right. That's the truth. And you need it.
You need it. And I think it's a lost art in some ways, right? Like my parents have been married forever. Brian, your parents are married. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
We have a legacy of long-term relationships, which seems to be disappearing.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to explore that on Monday.
Oh, we're gonna jump in. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Woo! That might be a martini.
Hey, listen, it's at noon,
so
it's no problem.
Yeah, martini lunch.
Grab a cocktail, grab your lunch, and jump in.
Oh man, listen, we're way over, but it was worth it because I'm with both of you. I feel like bringing that hymnal back, but
I have a dream.
Wow.
Well, that Clarence Thomas will find his brain and leave.
Oh man, listen, y'all. Listen, I love you both. Listen, remember to follow us on social media and join our mailing list by visiting the This Morning site today. Also, on behalf of all of us, I want to say thanks for joining us again for another edition of This Morning with Soulivity. We hope that you'll come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our live broadcast right here at soulivity.com or on our social media platforms, or listen at 9 a.m. East Pacific time on Thursday and Friday on KMET 1490 AM for all of you out on the West Coast. Listen, until next time, Keep having real conversations with passion and purpose. And we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.